this season?
Well, you never really know. I mean, I've always been one of those guys that practiced, scared to death, unassuming, I think we've got some guys that can rush the passer. Obviously, in our one-on-one pass rush drill, it's a defensive drill. We have been having some success. It's going to, can we have that experience to know when it's pass? Obvious passing's easy. It's on those either-or downs, and when you're playing, can we determine by any giveaways on the offensive line, or just have the experience to realize, hey, that I'm getting pass and I'm into a pass rush mode, opposed to being in a run mode, and you're just not rushing the passer, So a lot of it's pre-snap, a lot of it, is experience. But I think we got some guys that are talented that can rush the passer. So hopefully, we'll have that same kind of success. But I know Corey Luther, Nigel, Ricky Walker, Vinny, all those guys. I know Seth is coming on. Unfortunately, Dwayne, pulled an abdominal muscle, but I like the progress that we're making. I really do.
Kine's getting some reps at defensive end. How's he looking?
Yeah, that was a good move for us. I mean, he's athletic. He's quick. I think he'll be a quick learner. Just the fact we had 4 scholarship guys is what we had going into camp. Dwayne got hurt. Now we're repping the guys that aren't going to play, and so it was a good move for Melvin. He had more experience as a defensive end in high school than he did as a linebacker. He played 3.5 seasons as a defensive end. Not that we had had this preconceived idea of moving him to end. We didn't. We knew that would be the guy if, where we were really thin at defensive end. If there's a problem, Melvin is going to, have to be that guy, And so there was a problem, and we're repping a guy that's not going to play. Let's get a kid in there who potentially will play. So that was behind that. Melvin, trying to catch him up. We met 4 times prior to starting camp, and then now, you're allowed to you had 2 hours a week with him, meeting time prior to camp, and then 6-7 days, we got to bring him up to speed, So we've been meeting with him an hour and a half by himself, trying to, get him up to speed.
I know you don't have to decide this yet, but last year, Gale, Collins, those guys played a lot of snaps. You've got kind of unproven kids this year.
Yeah.
What is your thought process going in about, are they going to play the lion's share because the guys behind them are inexperienced too? Is it going to be a more balanced
Well, the
rotation?
game's going to dictate that. Hopefully we're getting off the field, and you can give them some reps to spell the first group. But I really Seth's coming on. Dwayne had a very, very good first day in pads. I was very pleased with him, but then he also got hurt that day, but those guys are coming. So I think by the end of camp, I'm hopeful that we're going to have a solid 2 deep and that we can play 8 guys. It's hard to play just 4 defensive linemen. You're going to get, I've seen over time, the more they play, the less productive they can be. If you're playing like 55 plays a game, you get tired, you get beat up. I think we're more productive with probably 40-20, something in that range. So, but the game usually dictates the substitution.
You guys got any word on Woody? Any update
He's
on
going
that?
to practice. I said that's a good question. I was thinking he would be out there today in some degree, maybe I don't know. We didn't meet today yet, so I haven't talked to Mike about it yet, so I don't really know. But I'm hoping Woody feels 100% and he can get back in there. But again, I don't want it to be a deal where Woody's that injury is lingering all year and he's not productive, and we've wasted a year with him. We end up playing the freshman kids anyway.
Where do you see a guy like Wade Hanson transferring, fitting into the defensive line?
Wade is actually, Wade's a great kid. Respect Wade. To be honest with Wade, I'm not sure he's going to crack the 2 deep. So where can Wade help our football team? Can we get more depth? Can he get in the 2 deep on the offensive line? That's possible. I don't see him right now beating Vinny out. I don't see him right now beating Ricky Walker out or Woody, just from an athleticism standpoint. I think he can finish a game for you. That's not going to get him where he needs to be, where he wants to be. So I think Wade's going to work on the offensive line a little bit here over the next few days. see if he can get in that two deep and give us depth. He's got to learn it, obviously. Wade's a great teammate, and he's looking for, to get in that two deep. So I think that's right now where he's going to fit in.
Your depth in the secondary and some of the other players. It seems like nobody's talking a whole lot about Kendall. I mean, he's all over the cover of magazines and things like that. But I think it's almost like this foregone assumption that he's going to be good because he was good last year. Where did he have to improve from your standpoint?
Well, I think my biggest thing with Kendall had a great freshman year. But when we go back and I look at the video with him from last season and go through a game, I was like, Kendall, for a guy of your caliber, you left this play on this field. You left these couple plays on the field. So just him mentally being in tune, playing and play out, and understanding what the offense is doing by splits, formations, and not leaving those plays on the field because he's making the plays he's going to make anyway. But really love the way he's approaching practice right now. I thought he had a great practice on Sunday. He's got the right mindset to go out and have it. He's not just assuming it's going to happen, and that's my job to keep pushing the buttons to make sure that he stays hungry in that respect.
What about Brandon? I mean, I know the stress reaction in the spring and the hip flexor now. I mean, is he obviously he's recovering, but you got 18 days until your first game. Are you worried about him being ready at all?
Is it that soon? 18?
18
wow.
days.
Yeah. When you put it in 18 days, I just know we got the next practice right now. It's a concern, but he's hopefully getting that thing. He's rehabbing it, and we're hoping. I'm hoping it's sometime this week, hopefully sooner than later, that we can get it back and go from there.
Aaron Moorhead was talking about his college experience, the corners he worked against, the receiving core he was part of, and obviously you guys have the corners here to create that. Receivers, where are they right now in terms of, do your guys get enough of a challenge from that group?
Well, I think already there's a huge improvement from this season to last season with the addition of our freshmen. Those guys come in, they're athletic, they can run. You got Deion Newsom who's improving. So our one-on-ones are already much more livelier because, we just got more guys that are giving us a better, more competitive look, and that's what makes those guys better on Saturdays, and that's what's going to make us better.
How big an impact do you think it is the reverse way? Because those freshman receivers said they feel like going against Kendall and Brandon, there'll be nothing in an ACC game they see that they haven't seen before.
Well, you hope that's the culture you're able to create. Hopefully we're always got talented guys at defensive back, and those guys are recruiting talented guys at wideouts, and you would hope that the guys you're practicing with during the week, that once you get to a Saturday or into a game, that the game's kind of, I've done this all week, it shouldn't be a problem.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
You've got some versatile guys back there with Chuck Clark and Torrian Gray. Just guys, even though they're young, it seems like they played every spot back there. How does that help you out as a coach? You can just plug those guys in anywhere if somebody gets hurt?
Well, for Torrian Gray, Chuck Clark, for the those guys, you can say Kendall. Those guys are playing both corner spots, both nickel spots. The mental work, they make it look easy, but you talking about smart, cerebral football players, and they make it. Brandon's out, Bonner's not practicing today, so you can move around guys to get your best guys on the field when you got cerebral football players, and I think that's the biggest asset that a guy like Chuck Clark, the Kendall Fullers, the Dietrich Bonners, those guys bring, is the versatility and the mental aptitude to be able to do all those things.
We felt like he could go down and play defensive end too if we needed to, and so I think we thought our thought process was that when we recruited him, because he was a dynamic end in high school besides being a really good linebacker in high school. So I felt like we when it's all said and done, you guys know how that followed us over the years, how we make our moves with people. I think it's going to be a good move for us. Now, if it stays that way for his future, the time will tell. But for right now, he's given us that help, and we called him in, talked to him, told him about our needs. He's a fourth-team linebacker, now he's a second-team defensive end. So, he told me he was just he's a team guy, and he wants to do whatever he can do to help the team. So, which I really appreciate, and we need unselfish guys around here, and he's that. So I'm excited about that.
When you think about your pass rush for this upcoming season with your defensive line, and I know the ends are talented but kind of unproven, do you feel like you're going to get enough pressure with 4, or is this going to be a year where you need to dial up more?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I do think this. I think we've got some quick kids on the edge. You're talking about our backers, and our whips and those kind of guys. And I think we're a little faster. And, so that can help if we want to bring pressure. I know Deion's and D-Mac are both really athletic guys coming off the edge and can create some problems. And, obviously each week varies, but yeah, we're always going to want to do what we do. Some years are a little bit different. Some teams are better blitzers than others, and some teams are better cover people than others. So we're just still trying to find the identity with this group right here. We've had 7 practices. So
We've talked a lot about this team speed on this defense. Has that been a concerted effort through recruiting, or just kind of work out this way that this is just one of the faster teams that you've had?
Well, I hope they play fast. Obviously, you get a young team. Sometimes you can have a fast team, but if their mind's tying up their feet, they don't play fast. And we've got to make sure that we keep things simple enough. These guys know their technique and assignments that they can go play fast. But yeah, in recruiting, we're always trying to find the biggest, fastest, most athletic guy we can find. Tariq Edwards was a fast guy, before he had, they put a rod in his knee, or in his leg, you know what I mean? And so, he was a guy that he lost a step, We've gained that step with Deion Clark. So, we'll see. But, yeah,
Had a lot of reps.
Would you like to be big and fast? Yeah, but we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. So we just got to stay healthy.
Sorry if I did this already, but are you settled now at the linebacker positions? Is it Deion and Chase, or are you?
Yeah, I'd say right now Deion is a little bit ahead of D-Mac. Yeah, so they've separated themselves. But I will say this: Andrew Matuapuaka is, he is tremendously better than he was in the spring, and I really like that kid. So I feel a lot better about him now than I did at the end of spring practice. He missed just our spring game, but I feel a lot better about him. Him playing the position, executing the position in all aspects, run-wise, his run fits, and his coverage fits as well. And so I feel a lot better about that. But I think we've solidified our 2 deep. So and then I like the Hills Camp kid, who's a walk-on kid. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Jack Tyler, but it wouldn't surprise me. So and we've got to bring along a third guy. I think Jamion Moss at the backer spot has showed big improvement. Still a young guy. He's a learn with reps guy. I've been impressed with Raymond Miner. I think he's got a chance to help us this year potentially, as far as depth. And then in the kicking game, we've got to decide if we're going to go ahead and go with it, because if we play him now, he'll be better next year. And we just, kind of the future's now kind of in our eyes, especially with how things are going in today's athletics. So, we'll see where that goes. But I think we've settled on, our 2 deep, and then I feel better just as our depth continues to grow.
Are you someone who likes to play just 2 linebackers if you have them, or would you prefer to rotate a third guy?
Well,
or does it kind of depend on talent?
It depends on talent we have. I want to put guys on the field to give us an opportunity to win. I'm just not, playing guys to play guys. I think it's a little bit different defensive line-wise, where they're pitching a fit. It's a fist fight every snap. They're rushing the pass, and then they're turning and chasing the ball, and they're 260 pounds plus. They can wear down a little easier than what we do. But if the guy's ready to play, I want to play him. If we can get a guy in there and give him a blow, I think all that for me, with depth, and that's why there is a depth chart. There's usually a difference in that first and second group guy. Now, if we close the gap, we feel like we've got 2 first-team kind of groups, which ideally we'd like to have. Then we'll rotate them through if we need to. But, sometimes linebackers, you got to get a feel for the game and get in the rhythm of the game. It's kind of like being a tailback. If you just keep alternating those guys and they don't get a feel for the game and how the holes are hitting and all those, it's kind of the same thing with linebacker, in my opinion, kind of getting that flow a little bit. But I do want to, early on, I want to see, where these guys are, especially a kid like Matuapuaka. I want to see how he steps up in the fray, so to speak. So,